So we're going to kind of go really old school yogi to begin with. Let ourselves just sit down on a block or not, if that feels good. Allow yourself to come into Sukhasana. So we're going to bring the heels in towards the groin and let the knees hang out to the side. And we're going to close our eyes and let ourselves sit up nice and tall, roll the shoulders back a little bit. Have a little wriggle. Get yourself in a nice position. And then we're going to begin to breathe in a nice, long, slow breath. Now, you don't want to breathe in so deeply that you feel like you're going to burst, but you do want to try and keep this smooth glide of breath so it feels like the same amount of pressure is being applied to the lungs all the way up. And then as you exhale, you're going to see if you can take that long exhalation back out. Now you take your next breath in. I'd ask you to just count in your head how long it takes to breathe in, and then how long it takes you to breathe out. And then whatever that number is the number, the half or the average of that, is the number you're going to use to breathe in. Then take a little breath at the top, hold for half of the number that you counted to, and then exhale to that count, and then hold again for half as long. So the breath in the middle, when the in and the out takes place, is the number you counted to. And use half again to hold the breath at the bottom and the top. Like I said, if you're breathing too deep and too strong, you'll feel like your lungs are going to burst and it will burn and won't feel very comfortable. So this smooth, gradual filling, allowing your ribs time to open up and stretch out forward, sideways, and into the back of the ribs as well. Allow the belly to expand as you breathe in. And see if that can be a smooth expansion. And on the exhale, same thing, comes in nice and gently and smoothly. I'm just going to carry on doing that for another minute and a half or so. We'll take a final breath in. And on the exhale, at the top of the breath, we'll just let the hands come out onto the sides. Return to a normal, steady breath. Draw the chest forwards and tilt the pelvis forwards a little bit. Draw your chest up towards the sky. Roll your shoulders back and squeeze them together a little. And then tilt your pelvis the opposite way, so your spine starts to round and your head drops. And shoulders come forwards a little bit. And then tilt forwards again with the pelvis. So it's very much like doing cat-cow, just a seated version. and come slowly back into a neutral position. Take the hands, interlacing the fingers, the forearms together, just going to roll those wrists around a little bit. And have the elbows touching. The shoulders are wrapping around a little bit. So as I breathe, it's a little bit congested in the front. The breath moves to the back. We'll shake out the fingers and bring the hands to the floor, just leaning forwards that a little bit, fingers spread. And then turn the fingers outwards as thumbs are forwards. Allow yourself to rock a little bit, just to stretch the forearms and the wrists out very gently. Now, the degree of movement you get is really going to be reliant on the amount of space you have in the wrist bones. So whatever is accessible to you, keeping the heel of the hand pressing onto the floor and the knuckles pressing down. And just to take that a little further, we'll move the fingers towards us, thumbs out. And again, let the hands move as far forward as we can lean in, and secondly, that we can keep the heel of the hands down. I guess that should have been an A and a B rather than a 1 or a 2, but let's not worry too much about that. I'm going to draw the belly in so I can lift the fingers away from the floor, give them a little shake out, and then take the fingertips out to the side. I'm going to come into a side bend. So I'm going to plant my left hand down to the floor. And I'm going to try and keep the space between the ear and the shoulder as long as I can. I'm going to take the right hand up, turn the palm towards the side, lengthen the arm out so it follows the line of the body, and then gently bend that bottom elbow. Try and keep the legs as low as I can. Breathing in here, keeping the chest facing the long side of your mat. If you're facing the same way as me, or the front of the mat, if you're facing the end on. Press away from the mat, back up. Allow ourselves to come back in, and we'll just walk the fingers out. Again, keep that nice space in the body. Allow the arm to come up, follow the line, and then soften the elbow. So we're trying to keep this top arm pretty much straight. It's not going to be absolutely straight, but we haven't got any sort of bendy elbow thing going on. We are reaching out through the fingers, trying to keep both knees as low as you can. Generally, in this case, the left knee would be wanting to rise a little bit. We'll lift away from the ground and bring ourselves back up. And untangle the legs out in front, and just roll those ankles around a couple of times. And then bring myself up onto all fours. So take the block and place that between the thighs down towards my heels, coming to a hero's pose. So I'm going to bring the knees together and take the feet wider apart and allow myself to sit gently back down to the block. So the heels roll to the outside of the hips. I'm going to take a little breath from there and take it into a twist. I'm going to take the left hand over to the right side of the legs, and then just taking the right arm with the palm facing down, I'm going to start to turn the body to the long side of the mat, turn it around as far as I can, and then see if I can lengthen this hand towards the back of the mat. I'm going to open up this shoulder a little bit by drawing the hand more towards the center line of the mat. So it's going behind me. I've twisted the body as far as it can. So the rest of that movement comes from the shoulder. And the hand is gradually moving over towards the left side of the mat. And then we'll release and bring that back. I'll take the right hand over. Start to turn the body. I'm just going to lift left hand again about the height of the shoulder, palm facing towards the back, thumb down. I'm going to rotate round as far as I can. Then I'm going to slowly bring that hand over to the other side, trying to keep it as high as I can. Pressing the palm towards the right side of the mat. And then I can release and bring myself back. Now I'll take the arms out wide, just in line with the shoulders. And I'm going to bring the left arm across first, and the right arm over the top, coming into eagle arms. I'm going to bend at the elbows and bring the palms together. And I want to try and keep the elbows out in front of the chest and the shoulders. I'm going to see if I can let the shoulders come down a little bit first, away from the ears. And then gently imagine there's a wall behind me and I'm pressing my shoulder blades into the wall. I wanted to still keep the elbows out 90 degrees to the body, with a 90-degree bend in the elbows. So the hands are out in front of the eyes. Just gently try and draw the shoulders into that invisible wall. And then we'll release, untangle, cross the arms over the opposite way. Bend in, relax the shoulders down, and then begin to draw them back. We can release from there as well. I'm going to come up onto all fours and just move the block out to the side, bring my hands into the front of the mat. Slowly stretch out each leg just to let the blood flow to come back in, and they'll feel like they've come back to life. Now from that neutral position, I'm going to tuck the toes of the right foot underneath and slide the foot back. Press down through the left shin, boot laces to the floor. We're going to lift the right leg to about the height of the hip, the leg as straight as I can, toes pointing down. And then carefully taking the left hand away from the floor, I'm going to stretch that out. So I've got a nice long line between the heel. I'm going to keep the body lifted, try not to let the body sink down to the floor. You want to keep the abdominal muscles drawn up a little bit towards the sky. Now I'm going to look towards the outstretched hand. And as I take that out to the side, I'm going to bend the back knee so the foot goes up towards the sky. And I'm going to keep twisting around until I can see my foot behind me, and then allow myself to reach around the foot and start to press the foot away from the hand. So just allow myself to get a nice deep twist into the side, trying to keep my belly button, my pubic bone over the center line of the mat. Minimize the amount of rocking around. Generally, the smoother you breathe, the less you wobble. And then we'll release everything back out. Hands come to the floor, knees come to the floor. Breath in. Take the left leg back. Lift. Gain stability by pressing the shin down. Right arm extends out. Keep the belly lifted a little. As you're ready, allow yourself to bend the knee and follow your hand towards the back of the mat. Spot your foot and then let yourself open up. Trying to keep the knee the same height as your hip. Allow yourself to press your shin towards the back of the mat. So release. So it requires a degree of hip and shoulder stability to work with that. We're going to draw the knees about hip distance apart. Allow ourselves to sit down into child's pose. So as the head comes to the floor, walk the hands out, turn your palms towards the sky. And see if you can rotate the thumb down towards the ground. So thumbs are pointing to the outside edge. And try to rotate the arms in. And we'll bring the palms down, look towards the front of the mat, lift up onto all fours, and we'll take our first down dog. So just lifting the knees up and back, the heels away from the floor. So you decide whether you need to or want to pedal the legs out. In a steady position in down dog, keeping the belly drawn in, allow yourself to bend your knees until you think your thighs are making a vertical line to the floor. Now keep the hips high, but see if you can let your chest sink a little lower to the ground. You have to press down into the hands a little more. You'll feel your shoulder blades kind of pressing into your back a little bit. And some of the muscles down the lower end of the shoulder blade may be firing up, or might even feel like they're cramping a little bit. You try and sink into your shoulder joints a little deeper. And we'll let ourselves lift and open into our down dog, bringing those long lines in again and easing our way into a plank. Now the knees come to the floor directly underneath the hips, and we'll sit back into child's pose. I'm just going to let the head come to the ground and then press into the floor on the inhale, roll the spine up towards the sky, and exhale the chest forwards. So we're taking cat-cow, reversing the breath. Inhaling up, pressing into the floor, exhaling down into child's pose. Inhaling up, exhale the chest forwards. Inhale it up. Exhale it back. Come up one more time. And exhale forwards. Back into neutral, tucking the toes under into another down dog. Now this one, we're going to allow ourselves to take the right leg to the sky. And I'm going to bend the knee and bring the heel in towards the bottom, and then just flex the thumb. I'm going to open the hip out to the side, so rotating through the shoulders and the hips a little bit, and taking that right knee as high as you can. Then I'm going to start to let the knee roll out to the side and bring it into my ribs, as close to my chest as I can. Then the knee goes to the floor, rolls back up towards the ceiling on the center line. And then I open the shoulders and the hips again to the side and roll it around. Draw the knee into your side of your ribs. Then down towards the ground and up again. We're going to take one more of those. High, wide. Squeeze the knee into the side of your body, slow as you can. Last lift up to the sky and lengthen the leg out. Square the shoulders and the hips and bring the foot down. We'll do the same to the opposite side, just lifting the leg. And starting to bend the knee in, foot flexed. Roll it out. Try and keep both elbows working straight. Slowly take the knee out to the side. Draw the knee in gently towards your ribs. Down to the floor. We follow the center line and come back up again. So we're really having to work hard in those shoulders to keep ourselves over the center line of the mat. Keep everything square. Squeeze. Oh boy, that's hard. Towards the side of the ribs, and then into the center line. All the way to the sky. Roll it up. Take it out to the side. Squeeze it in. And lift and extend out. And then let the foot come to the floor. Take a little breath and come into plank. And then lower the knees down to the ground, directly underneath the hips. Now take that right hand up to the sky. And then we're going to thread that through and under, down to the floor. I got to keep a little bit of weight in this top hand and press immediately away from the ground and lift up. So inhaling up and exhaling through. Really, the shoulder and the ear is just going to kiss the ground. And they're going to press away. So the muscles in the shoulders, across the chest, and through the abs, are going to stay firing up the whole time they're fully energized. All the way up. Bring the hand to the floor. Take it across the other side. Breath in. That's it. That top hand in front of the eyes stays firing up. Push our way back out. And through. Come up for the last time. And bring the hand to the floor. Now take the knees wide, toes together, sit back in child's pose, but the body's going to stay high, or about halfway up, I guess. And I'm going to take the left hand, wrap that across to the right. Again, I'm going to try and drop my shoulder and ear down onto the floor. Right in, you can reach, feel safe. And allow yourself to take your right hand up towards the sky and open your chest a little more. And then bring your right hand down onto the base of your spine. Press that down into the spine just a little bit and try and draw your shoulder. So this is your right shoulder over towards the left side of the mat. Those muscles are not used to moving in that way. They will shake and tremble. If they are, then you're going to get the experience of trying to press just a little bit of pressure consistently over to the side and opening this front chest and shoulder up. Last breath in. Allow yourself to take the hand high again. Down to the floor. Press away. Lift up. Back into that first phase. Take the right hand through. Looking for the line of the mat. Keeping the head in line with the rest of the spine. Make sure we've landed safely. And then slowly draw the elbow up. And extend that left hand. And roll the left shoulder over to the right. Take a couple of breaths here. And then bring the hand back down slowly onto the base of the spine. Try and keep a little bit of pressure there. As you imagine you've just got someone's hand around your shoulder and they're helping and guiding that shoulder gently over to the right side for you. Now we'll take the hand high, bring that down to the floor and press away on the exhale. Come forwards, Sphinx pose. So elbows about the same distance apart as the shoulders, and the palms facing down and parallel. Now take the feet, if they're not already, about hip distance apart. And then slowly turn the palms up towards the sky. And try and press the back of your hands and your forearms down into the floor. I'm going to take a little breath from here. Slowly bend your left foot towards the sky. So as best as you can figure, that's a 90-degree angle. Now you're going to press down through the left leg and see if you can push the right foot towards the sky a little bit. Still pressing the forearms down into the floor, and then let yourself release and bring the foot down. This is all about opening out that hip flexor on the front of your body. We'll slowly take the left leg, press down through the right, and see if we can lift that away from the floor. And then ease that down. Let leg lengthen out. We'll take it over to the other side. So get 2, maybe 3 breaths on the lift to hold. And then coming down on the 3rd breath. And then last side. And if there are imbalances in your body, you might have just discovered a few new ones. And then back down. We'll take the hands, bottom of the ribs, peel away from the floor. We'll come into wide-legged child's pose. And as we come down, we're going to swoop the hands out towards the right side of the mat so the body can lie on top of that thigh. Hands about shoulder distance apart. Now you're going to place the hands on the floor. Arms are outstretched, so the elbows are away from the ground. We're going to see if we can draw the shoulders towards your tailbone, but keeping your hands on the ground, so you start to feel like you've got some traction between the hands and the surface of the floor. And just trying to move those shoulders downwards. And then release. We'll cross over to the opposite side. So we get a side bend. Use our breath to stretch laterally through the spine. The hands are outstretched. On top of that thigh. And then press the hands down, get a good connection, and then draw your shoulder blades down towards your tailbone. Still want to be able to breathe, but you also want to try and keep that workload consistent. It's like you're doing the world's slowest behind the head chin up on a pull bar. So slow, people haven't even started to see you begin yet. They still think you're just hanging around. And we'll release. Bring the hands back in towards the front of the mat. And lift again up. I'm going to take a little breath. Allow the knees to lift away from the floor so we're into a nice healthy plank. Push the ground away with the hands. Let the shoulders protract. So the distance between the 2 shoulder blades increases as the shoulder blades separate out. You keep pressing out through the heels. We're going to keep this lifted plank just for a few more seconds. And we'll let the knees come down. Just bend the elbows towards the body. Let the chest come to the floor and lengthen out. I'm going to take the hands forwards, shoulder distance apart, and then turn the palms in. So little finger is on the floor, thumb stretched up towards the sky. On the exhale, press the thighs into the ground a little. And lift your chest just a little off the ground. We want the bottom rib to stay on the floor. And pressing little finger into the ground. We're going to alternate legs and arms. So we're going to lift the right arm and the left leg up in the breath in, and then let them come back down on the exhale. And just working our way across to the opposite side, and then back down. We're trying to keep the legs long, so we're pointing out through the toes. And back, and across. So a little pressing down of the hand, and then obviously the lifting of the hand as high as you can up. And accompanying that with the legs. Take one more to the right. One more to the left. And bring the hands underneath the shoulders, elbows into the rib for low cobra. Inhale up. And exhale down. Inhale up. And exhale down. Inhaling up. Try and have the heels roll out if you can. Toes pressing down into the floor. Bootlaces down. I'm going to come up one more time. As you come down, take the hands out wide and onto the fingertips for geckos. This time it's an exhale, pressing into the fingers, lengthening the chest forwards, again, keeping the thighs on the ground, easing our way down. Lifting up. Come back down to the ground, toes underneath, hands down by the side of the ribs, peel away from the floor. Bring the knees underneath and take your hands back out to the very front edge of the mat. Your shoulders come over your wrists, toes underneath, and we come into down dog. From down dog, we're going to float into plank, push forwards on the tippy toes, half plank, bootlaces down, roll it into an up dog. I'm going to slowly take it back, take a little breath, the hands in towards the toes, a forward bend at the back of the mat. I'll bring the hands onto the hips, soften the knees a little, lengthen the body out as you bring yourself up to standing. Take the arms out wide, palms reach above the head, in towards the heart, and down to the floor. This time I'm going to stay in the pose, but allow the hands to come behind the back and interlace the fingers, squeeze the shoulder blades together, lift the hands towards the sky first of all, and then allow them to move towards the front of the mat. Try and keep the weight even in the feet, so you have to play around and distribute that weight a little bit by moving the pelvis around in the air just to compensate for the arms and your torso. The legs, I'm trying to get them as straight as we can, pressing the feet to the floor, drawing the belly in and lifting the tailbone. Try and keep the shoulders away from your ears a little bit, draw them up towards the sky. And we'll let the hands come down again onto the pelvis, and then just move them out towards the side edge of the hips to let ourselves lift up. And we'll come up to standing and just shake that out and walk it into the front of the mat. So here we'll bring the hands into the heart as we breathe in. Exhale forward slowly. Down to the floor. Take a little breath and take the right foot to the back of the mat into a lunge and drop the back knee down. As you untuck your toes, let the hands drift towards your hips, lift the chest a little, and then draw the hands forward so you float up as you exhale, drawing the belly in. Now make fists as the hands come up above your head. Take the elbows out to the side to open the chest. And lift your heart up towards the sky and squeeze those shoulder blades together. And then release the hands and take the hands all the way to the back of the mat with the hands interlaced. And try and lift those hands as high as you can without letting your chest dip forwards too much. And then we'll release the hands just gently back down to the floor. Stepping back into our down dog. Take a breath from here and draw the right knee into the chest. Bring the foot through. I'm going to lift into a high crescent. So we're going to make sure the knee is over the ankle, pressing out through the back heel. Allow the hands to come along by the side of your body as you lift again. Find your balance point. Let the arms lengthen out. Strong arms. Draw the tailbone down. Use your body up towards the sky. Let the hands come in towards your heart, elbows out wide. And take that left elbow across into a revolve crescent. Now, as you lean forwards a little bit, you might be able to get a little more length into that back leg to press out through the heel. And then we'll carefully bring the hands down onto the inside of this front foot. Once they're safe, walk your foot gently out to the outside edge of the mat. Have the heel on, put the toes out to the side. Let the knee hang out to the side so you come onto the side edge of a flex foot. Bring the hands onto this front thigh. Right arm, right hand and right thigh. Twist the chest up towards the sky. Keep pressing that back heel away. That knee is off the ground. In my case, it's a very trembly back leg. And then we'll slowly swoop the arm up to the sky on the right. Bring it down to the floor. Now let ourselves step back to down dog. We'll take a breath in and draw the left knee into the chest. Bring that foot through. Let the knee down to the floor. Untuck the toes. Bring the hands swooping towards your body. Lifting forwards as you draw the belly in. And lift up. Take a little breath. Make fists. Elbows go out to the side. We lift the chest. Release the hands behind us. Interlace the fingers. Draw the hands towards the back of the mat. Lift the hands as high as you can. Release the hands to the floor. Take a little breath and step it back into our down dog. We'll draw the right knee into the chest. Bring the foot through. Knee over ankle. Strong back leg. Lift the hands alongside your body. Lift the body up a little. Float the arms out in line with the torso. And then turn the tailbone down to lift yourself high. Put the hands in towards your heart again. Take a little breath. I'm going to slowly rotate. Left over right. Twisting. I hope I've got the second leg. The possibility of just done the same leg twice. think I have actually. Oh well, never mind. Take a little breath from there. Bring the hands back down to the floor. We'll step it back into our down dog. And we'll bring the left foot through, just so we get into the right place. It's all good practice. Take a little breath, fingers away from the ground. Float them forwards. Tailbone down to the ground. Into the heart. We'll take it to the second side. So a little bit of out of balance. But sometimes that just happens. We'll take the hands to the floor on the inside. Wiggle that left foot out. Turn the toes out. Knee hangs out. The foot is flexed. Bring the left hand onto the inner thigh. Let ourselves lift. Keep pressing that bottom shoulder and the hand into the floor. So we're not resting into the joint, we're pressing away from the ground. We'll float the arms to the sky. Bring ourselves back into our down dog. Now we'll come forwards into the plank again. Allow the knees to come to the floor. We'll tuck the toes underneath. Sit back onto the heels. Allow the knees to come away from the ground. Let's go gently lift the body up. Take the hands out in front. Now try to spread the shoulders out as wide as you can. Press the hands down into an imaginary object. Keep the thighs squeezing together a little bit. Trying to keep the center of the knees the same distance apart as the center of your foot. Everything is pointing forwards. Take a little breath. Bring the hands to the floor. Now step one leg at a time forwards. Take a little breath. Allow ourselves to keep the knees high and roll down to the ground. You're going to walk your feet in towards your bottom as you wriggle your bum out a little bit. Nice long spine, and let the arms come out wide. I'll take a little breath here and allow myself to extend the left leg up towards the sky. Cross the leg over and then bring that foot down. So I've got thigh squeezing on top of thigh. I'm going to draw the belly muscles down and take the feet away from the ground and out to their respective side edges of the mat. You can draw the chin in towards the chest. Take a little breath. See, take hold of the feet. Now, it's a supine version of Gomukhasana or cow face pose. Squeeze the thighs together and try and have the shins and therefore the heels the same distance from the floor. Once you've done that, keep drawing the knees towards you and slowly lower your spine down to the ground. This is a big old stretch through those hips. Keep trying to press the thighs together very gently. And avoid letting your chin crane towards the back of the mat. Now we're going to release, draw the chin in towards the chest, untangle the legs. We'll take them up towards the sky and give them a little shake. Allow the feet to come back down to the ground, and then we take the right leg up, cross that over, squeeze the thighs together. And let the feet come away from the ground. You draw the lower spine to the ground, and you physically Try and take your feet out wide to their respective side of the mat. Chin comes in towards the chest. We lift a little bit. Take the hands, hopefully holding on to the outside edges of the heels. I guess the ankles or the shins would work as well. Squeeze the thighs together. We just have a little play, trying to get those shins and knees the same distance from the floor as we squeeze the thighs together a little. Your brain kind of works back to front. So if you have to adjust, you usually find that the leg that you try to move is not the one that actually happens to move. So slowly run the spine back down to the floor. Squeeze the knees in towards the body a little more. Squeeze the thighs together. Starting to feel that some interesting places in the hamstrings and into the piriformis muscles and the outer hip muscles as well. And we'll release, just draw the chin in towards the chest, untangle the legs, take them up towards the sky, give them a little shake out, and allow the feet to come back down to the ground. Now take the arms out wide, palms up, take a little breath, and we're just going to draw the knees up directly above the hips, draw the lower back into the floor, keeping the thighs squeezing together and the heels in towards your bottom, and let the legs roll down towards the right side, keeping the knees and the feet just sort of an inch or so off the ground. Obviously we can't see where the ground is, so it's a perceived inch. And then we'll roll back up as we exhale and allow ourselves to go over to the other side. Now, all that I ask is that you keep your shoulders flat to the floor and you avoid pressing down into your arms to lift yourself up. So as you roll slowly through from one side to the other, and you breathe when you can. Ideally, you'd exhale down and inhale up. But when you're trying to talk through this at the same time, that doesn't really become obvious. Just moving through gently, side to side. So that's the last interesting move towards the left. And this time, I'm going to let the knees come all the way to the ground and just turn the body over that way. Bring the hands into the floor, just to push away from the ground to come back up smoothly to sitting. And allow myself to take the flat block and just place that behind my bottom, and then a little simple lift up onto that ledge with the legs out in front, sitting tall. We'll take the left foot underneath for a traditional seated twist. So the knee comes to the floor and points forwards, and take the right foot across. And bring the foot in as close as you can, try and get that flat to the floor. Tilt the pelvis forwards, and I'm just going to simply take my left hand and wriggle that through to the right, so between my thigh and my chest, and then brace the arm and leg together a little bit. And the right hand, rather than coming to the center line, I'm just going to take it out to the side edge of the mat. You can turn the head towards the back of the mat if you wish, or you can let your head and your chin point the same direction as your heart. Now see if you can press very lightly your lower leg today down into the floor, just a fraction, just to turn it on. We can release. And we'll move gently into the second side. So legs out in front. Wrap them around. Get ourselves on those two sitting bones rather than one. Bring in that left foot across, close into the body. The closer you get, the easier it is to get the foot to the floor, the knee high. Tilt the pelvis to lengthen the spine, and then that right hand comes in between the body and the leg. And we just rotate gently out towards the left. And then we'll begin to make an effort to press that bottom leg down into the floor. And just in overall coordination terms, I find that much easier with the other leg to press down. This one kind of have to imagine it pressing down as well as at the same time asking it to do that to get any kind of response out of it. So much more coordinated in the other leg. But that's the idea of trying to balance these out a little bit. We can release and let ourselves lengthen the legs out. Give them a little shake, and then we're going to bring the soles of the feet together. And I'm going to bring the feet in as close as I can towards my body. And take my index finger, middle finger around the big toe. So I'm leaning forwards a little bit, and I'm actually going to rock into the front edge of the sitting bones a little bit. So just a tiny little wriggle. And then begin to press the little toe down into the floor so the soles of the feet open out a little more. Knees go down, and then I'm going to try and lift the chest towards the sky and allow the shoulders to draw back and out a little bit. So we've been working on that a lot today, trying to get these shoulders to be broad and open. We've done that by drawing them down and towards the back of our body. Try and keep the belly drawn in. Press the sitting bones down as well as the little toes. Just release a little bit. And on the exhale, we're going to start to hinge forwards. Now, see if you can take the elbows out to the side and allow the shoulders to move out wide as well. We're going to try and draw the chest forwards a little bit, but we're not going to get down super low because we brought the feet in really close into the groin. So there's a limit to how far forwards we'll go. Eventually, we'll let the hands come to the floor, so we take the fingers away from the toes. And we're going to try and keep the head in line with where the rest of the body is. We're just hinging over the hips, letting those groins out. We haven't done a lot of work with the groins opening out to the side this evening. So this will feel still like a big stretch through the groin. And then we'll use the hands to press down into the floor to lift back up smoothly. Use your hands underneath your legs to bring them back, because if they're like mine, kind of got to the end of their capabilities to do anything at that point. And then I'm going to allow myself to use the block behind the back of my head for Shavasana. So if you've got any extra layers on, if it's a little chilly on the floor where you are, allow yourself to plonk those on. And then come into the pose. You just tuck the tailbone away from the floor. There's a little lift of the bum away from the ground, so your tailbone shoots forward. And then it's much easier to roll your spine down into the ground when you get off of your edge of the coccyx. Head underneath or on the block, so it's underneath without pressing into the neck or the shoulders. Wriggle the shoulders underneath and let the hands come out to the side. And then see how my back feels. Now, if my back feels sore in any way, I keep the knees high. I walk the feet out to the corner edges and let the knees rock in like a little teepee. The back feels okay, and I'm just using my toes to claw my feet towards the end of the mat. Eventually, I get to the point where I can slide a heel one leg at a time. I want to keep the feet in contact with the ground, so there's the minimal amount of distress in the lower back as I take the legs out and the hip flexors. Palms are facing up, let the shoulders roll down. And lips a couple of times. And then it's just into release and yield and letting go mode. And slowly begin to stretch those fingers and toes, the wrists and the ankles. Breathe a little deeper and use that energy to stretch out in any way that feels wonderful. Slide the heels back in. The knees high, and let one leg at a time move in towards the body and give yourself a very soft and gentle hug. Just rolling the hips around a little bit, wriggling on the spine, whatever feels good. Always gentle and considerate of your own body. And then we'll roll onto our right side, keeping the knees in towards the body as we breathe in. We turn the chest to the floor, the hands come down, and we press away smoothly on the exhale, just lifting up. And we sit tall. Let the hands come in towards the heart as you close your eyes, breathing deep. And begin to exhale slowly, letting the chin drop. Seeing the belly draw to the spine, we bow simply to the floor to see our practice. On the inhale, letting the head lift, the spine build, eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of a different work into the shoulders and more of a sort of freeing up and mobility. And I'll see you on the mat again soon.